Good morning, the Dominion Theatre. And welcome to Britain's Got Talent. Ant and Dec are going to be here any minute now, and your auditions are going to start quite soon. So if you could get ready, limber up, ready to go. No? So no, I'm not Amanda Holden. I've also forgot my clicker. I'll go over there and get it. Thank you. I'm Amanda Downs, and I am from the Aspire Group, and we're absolutely delighted to welcome you here to Liberating Leadership in Action. Before we start, we've got a little bit of housekeeping as usual. So the loos are out of the door, and the ladies are over that side, and the gents are over that side. Don't get them mixed up. If there's a fire, the staff will come and get us. If the fire has got the staff first, then just follow me out the door, down the stairs and straight out onto Tottenham Court Road, if that's okay with you. So thank you so much for taking some space out. And it's not Britain's Got Talent audition. What we are going to do though is allow you a day's worth of space to think about. Maybe audition yourself to see where you get the part around liberating leadership. So why liberating leadership, and why are the Aspire Group sponsoring this amazing event today? Well, actually, for 11 years now, as Star Academy, and then latterly we've grown into the Aspire Group, we've worked with mainly salespeople, actually, salespeople and sales managers. And we've done lots of fantastic training. We're great, we're enthusiastic. Wait till you see my colleague Mark, who I work with, is majorly enthusiastic. And we would go in and we would train, and we give everybody the skills and the knowledge and the attitude to be fantastic salespeople. Brilliant, all well and good. Then what would happen is over the course of the years, either we would never hear from the business again, one thing, or we'd get called in quite regularly to train up what seemed to us to be a whole new set of salespeople. And we're thinking, well, what's happening there? So was our training rubbish? What was happening? So as we started to speak to the salespeople's managers, and said, what's happened? Why do you think this hasn't stuck? What hasn't embedded? And they go, oh, don't know really. And then it turns out you realise that they weren't at the training, and they haven't asked their teams or coached their teams or thought about it with their team who and what and why needed to change. In fact, they hadn't talked about anything hardly, apart from, guess what, targets. Like, oh, well done, you've hit your target, or, oh no, you haven't hit your target, you know, work harder next time, please, or worse, on your bike. So what we actually realised was that this is really obvious when you think about it, that you have to actually lead from the front. So now we don't do any training. We were pitching on Monday, actually, with my colleague Chester, wherever Chester is. We were pitching on Monday, and the guys at this particular business had asked us to come in and ask and do some sales training. Telephone, actually. And we said we don't do sales training anymore. We'll enable, we call it champion-led, and we'll enable your managers and your leaders to enable the managers to grow the sales. So that's what we now do, and that's why we're here. Because about 5 years ago, we started using this and becoming accredited in this amazing process and skills and attitudes, all of which you'll find out a bit more about as we go along. And actually, it works. And now we train managers to train leaders, actually, to train managers, to train salespeople, so that everybody is actually leading for growth, which is fantastic. So, what does make a great leader? Interesting question. Let's just have a look. We've been watching. And I'd like you to just think back for a minute to the bosses that you've worked with in your lives. Everybody's had a few bosses. Yeah? Had a few bosses in your life. I'm going to ask you to think about your worst boss. Anybody can think of a bad boss they've had? Bad leader? Yeah? Okay, could you just shout out for me just a few words that might describe those not so good leaders? Inconsistent. You'll see that the lovely Pascal here is going to be visualizing the day for us, and she's going to take some of these words down. Inconsistent. Anybody else? Arrogant. Anybody else? Megalomaniac. Can you spell that one? I'm going to leave that one to you.
Say lack of interest.
Lack of interest. So not bothered at all. Susan. Distrusting. A brick wall. Indecisive. Lack of integrity. Can you spell that, Pascal? If you could just spell that for us, Paul. Narcissist. Anything else? No? Disempowering. Disempowering. Not great words, eh? So let's just now think about words that would describe your best boss you've ever had. Now, I know some of you got your bosses in the room. So, just be careful. Doesn't necessarily have to be the one you're with now. But your best boss, or what your ideal boss would be, what words would you use to describe? Supportive. Enthusiastic. Inspiring. Encouraging. Motivational. Confident. Interested as opposed to lack of interest, yeah. A listener. Wow, loads of them. Sorry? Congruent. Flexible, somebody said over there. Empathetic. Sorry, Pascal, they've got quite a lot of words to describe good, but this is looking good. It's looking good. Okay. Great. So now, in this situation of space where we're going to audition ourselves to think about whether we are fantastic leaders and which elements of leadership might we want to work on, we always all need to work on something. I guess it's the words over here on the right, your right, that we want to be working towards, yeah? And actually, nobody ever comes to work, ever, as a leader, and I know you're all leaders of teams in here, that nobody ever comes to work wanting to do a bad job. But sometimes we may not do as good a job as we think, and therefore actually thinking about the process and the skills and the attitudes of how you do that is really what we'd like you to come out of today with, and just maybe a couple of ideas about how you might move on your leadership approach. Okay. There is one other thing. There are some posters up on the wall at the back, which you might have noticed or might not yet, and some post-it notes stuck to them. One of the things that we're also researching at the Aspire Group is future leadership. So it's all very well, we're thinking now about how we're going to manage, and we might be thinking about next year's budget, and then we might be thinking about a couple of years down the line. But actually, things are changing so much that leadership is going to have to seriously step up to the mark. And the way that managers and leaders work now and potentially, just before now, that's going to have to seriously change. And we're trying to kind of get to grips with what the changes might be and how that might impact leadership. So we're doing some research. So if you get a minute to come and give us your views over there on the posters, we'd really, really appreciate that. There's some kind of what we've called 2050 future leadership questions over there to look at. Okay. Fantastic. So introducing the amazing liberating leadership model. Today we are going to take you through each of these stages. You'll see that in the programme. Each of the stages will have a speaker. So we have Mark Francis, who is going to introduce visioning. We have Ali Stewart, who is actually the author and founder of Liberating Leadership, who is going to introduce mobilising. Julia Carter is going to talk about developing. And then Kate Turner is going to finish up talking about enabling. And as you see, we called it in liberating leadership in action. The reason we've called it in action is that actually each of the speakers have brought a guest with them. Some have brought two. A guest who is going to help them to share their story about how it actually works in real life, in real businesses, with real teams, which is really exciting. The first time we've ever done it like that. So we're very, very excited that, that they've brought the guests to share their stories, which is fantastic. Okay, so it's just about time to start the journey and see how this approach does actually liberate leaders. So, without further ado, I'm just going to introduce our first speaker. Mark Francis is our head of learning at the Aspire Group. Mark has been training and developing leadership teams and salespeople for about 30-something years. And he has trained and managed globally in metals, in machines, in photocopiers, in alcohol, in soft drinks, in food, in lots and lots and lots of different industries. Mark needs very little other introduction other than to say that he is a fantastically enthusiastic and motivating trainer. I know some of you have worked with Mark already in the room. And in the Aspire Group, we call him the Tigger in the team. You will see why. I'd like to put your hands together for Mark Francis.